All right, jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to the Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti. Hope everybody had a good week, had a good Christmas. As you can see, I'm on the road. I'm recording this before Christmas. I didn't have Christmas yet, but I imagined it was going to be a good time. It always is. I love Christmas. I watch the Christmas Story Marathon on TBS every year. JPL3 tries to change it on us every year to watch anything else. We always change it back. We always find a way. So, good Christmas overall, I'm sure. I'm just guessing. I'm making an assessment based on historicals. I believe we're doing Christmas Eve at my parents' house in the dungeon. And we're doing Christmas Day at my sister's house. With the crazy kids, the crazy critters running around. So that should be a good time. I completely forgot to mention Christmas in last week's episode. Last week's episode posted Christmas week. And I should have been predicting the future of Christmas that episode, but I gotta tell you, I was so excited about the tomatoes, the prospect of ripened tomatoes, that I wasn't thinking straight. Plus, I was talking. I should have figured it out. I was talking about Hallmark Christmas movies, and completely forgot that Christmas was going on right when the episode posted. So that's on me for that. But now we're a week off Christmas. It's New Year's week. You know how I feel about New Year's. Although I am changing my tune on things as much as I can to learn, grow, and improve. I don't mind the idea of hanging out with people on New Year's. I used to be a real curmudgeon and not want to even go out, just to stick it to the man on New Year's, like, I'm not even going to celebrate anything. But again, any excuse to hang out with important people in your lives and have a good time and escape the stressors of the day-to-day, the realities of the day-to-day lives that we lead, I'm all for that now. So if it's on New Year's, then it's on New Year's. But the message still stays the same. In fact, you could go back and look at past New Year's episodes of the LPDS, and it's almost word for word the same message each time. The whole New Year, New Me bullshit, that I don't do that crap. If I want a new me, I'm going to get my ass in gear immediately. I'm not setting a date. I'm not scheduling to be better in the future. I'm starting now so I can be better in the future. So I never understood that. I also don't like how people use it as an excuse to forget about their mistakes or their laziness or things they did, negatively towards others. It's one thing to take accountability and put your hand up and say, I made mistakes and I'm going to be better now. It's another thing to pretend those never happened and be like, oh, we erased it all and we're starting anew, so New Year, New Me. Forget about all the shitty things I did to people beforehand. Those never happen. It's a new year. That's what I don't like. If you want to take accountability and learn from your mistakes, that's one thing, but a lot of people don't do that. So that's that's what I really don't like about the New Year, New Me crew. I know a lot of people, speaking of New Year's, are going to be angry that the gyms are going to get full again, as I always do in January with the new year. Because again, the New Year, New Me's folks, and the folks that want to get better, they schedule New Year, I'm going to the gym, and they sign up. The gym subscriptions go through the roof. I think that must be their biggest selling time is the holidays, and it's chaos for 2 weeks to a month, and then it's right back down to normal by February, March. Really, I don't have a problem with it. I used to be annoyed by it because it would take me longer to get my workouts in because you have all these extra people there. So now you're waiting on equipment and what have you. But I gotta say, if you're in the gym, I'm happy. Okay? I wish you would stick it out longer. that would be a good problem to deal with. I'd rather deal with that, like, oh, this gym is just so crowded. There's so many people who are trying to get better and healthier and more disciplined in their lives. Okay, maybe I do have to find a new gym that's quieter so I have the time to go work out more, or build up my home gym. I don't know, but I'd rather deal with that problem than 80% of the country being morbidly obese and unhealthy and unhappy in life. So I don't necessarily mind it. There's always a couple of those gym bros, those hardos out there that get pissed off and I can't believe this, and they get mad at them and they shit talk them and stuff, and then they drive the people away. And I'm not about that. I'll shit talk people that are disrespectful in the gym and rude and don't follow proper gym etiquette. That's where I go in hard, so to speak. That's where I'll go in on those people at the gym, because they're the ones actually making your time there miserable and make you not want to go back there. I hate that crap. I told you about the guy who blew the snot rocket. Hated that guy. I haven't seen him since, to be honest with you. I don't know if he works at a different time, went to a new gym or what have you. I'm not mad about it. For all I know, he got kicked out of the gym, and I wouldn't be surprised because so many people have complained about him to the front desk people at our gym about that snot rocket guy for multiple infractions of gym etiquette and just human decency. He was just not a good guy. So if he got kicked out, I wouldn't be one bit surprised, but good riddance to bad rubbish. For the fats out there that are going out there to try to, go for the first time or go back into the gym and try to get healthy, I want to do everything I can to keep them there. Now, there's a fine line, because you don't want to inadvertently disrespect somebody and make an assumption that they don't know how to work out because they're fat in the gym and they look lost. So I want to tread lightly. I want to make sure I want to help people, and I want to keep them around. I want to keep them inspired to keep coming back. I want them to I want their experiences with the people at the gym to be positive, so they're like, yeah, this is a culture I want to be a part of. But it's difficult because you don't want to show up, walk up to somebody and just tell them how to do things, and maybe they don't want to do things that way, So you got to be respectful in that regard. But all in all, the gym's going to get crazy. I'm not mad about it. I'll adjust my schedule accordingly to make sure I have the time to get my workouts in. I suggest all the regular gym goers do the same and be happy that more people are in the gym and try to keep them there. It's going to die down by February. I got it. But let's try to keep them there just a little longer. Because that's just a couple extra more days that they're being healthier than they're trying. And that's what we want. We want healthier people, because health is wealth and happiness. And we talk about it in the big three all the time. If you're physically, mentally, and emotionally fit and healthy, you're going to have a better life. You're going to feel better about yourself in so many different ways. So I want that for everybody. Trust me, the healthier the population is, the less negative, depressed, or asshole type of people you're going to have to deal with. If you want to think of it that way. There's going to be less depression, less anxiety, less stress, less negativity. When you're healthy and fit, you don't have time to think about that negative stuff. You don't care about that stuff anymore. You don't spiral into those depressive states nearly as much. There's some people do, obviously, the body dysmorphia folks that have to be in the gym all the time, and even though they have six-pack abs, they still get depressed about it. That's a different issue. I got it. I understand that not everybody's going to be like that, super happy and healthy just because they go to the gym. But there's no negative from a healthier population. So let's be a little patient out there. Let's understand these people are new, they're trying, and let's do what we can to keep them in the culture and the environment. And that way too, if you have a positive impact on that person, they'll spread that to other people, and you'll be positively impacting the gym environment overall. So that way, the shitbags that you hate that go to the gym will start to get weeded out. Sounds like a good idea to me. So, anyway, Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Hope everybody had good holidays and such. I'm sure I did too. But I forgot to talk about it before, and as you can see, I'm on the road, losing my mind on this drive. I drove Saturday. I'm recording Sunday on the 22nd of December. This will post the next week, 30 December, or whatever it is, 28, 29, I don't know. I'm not good at numbies on the fly like that. I'm on the road, the second day with the road dog Randy, and I'm losing my mind. The first day, Saturday, was a bunch of traffic. My 12-hour drive ended up being closer to like 15 or 16 hours. I didn't get in until 2 a.m. because of the time change as well. And then I was back on the road, and a few hours later, I snagged a quick shower. I did a quick edit and upload of last week's LPDS, and then I hit the hay for a few hours, got a quick hotel breakfast in, and we were back on the road again. And now we're doing it. I'm somewhere in Virginia, I think. Who knows? I think I'm in Virginia. And we're just on this highway for another 400 miles. And I'm losing. I've listened to a couple of Rogan podcasts, Tim Dillon podcasts, a couple of music playlists. I haven't gotten to the shanty music yet, like I did the last road trip. I haven't gotten quite that far yet, but I'm getting close. I'm getting close to shanty time. And that's when you know, it's time to get off the road. When you're cruising to shanty music, pirate shanty music, you've lost it. You have lost your damn mind. And I'm getting close, folks. But I'm remaining hopeful. Look, I gotta get back quickly. I got this box of tomatoes that I have to ripen up. So I got a lot of hope. There's a lot of things going on in my life that I gotta get off the road to accomplish. So I'm hopeful, and I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to get done with this road trip. I love road trips, but this one is, in particular, is a tough one because it's long. There's no stops for like scenery or hanging out, and it's a lonely one. And it's a bigger pain in the ass to do it alone than with, a pal, a wingman. So, just got to tough it out. There's a greater good involved in this, and it's to get home to the motherland and to have a good time with the family and to help them out as best I can, and I enjoy that, and that's why I do it. I don't mind these long, boring road trips, and I hope you don't either, because I like recording on these trips as well, so I hope you enjoy listening to these crazy road trip shanty episodes. With that, we're going to go quickly here. We're going to try to go quickly here anyway. I've been getting too excited about stuff on my rants. I've been going real long on the episodes, which I don't mind usually, but that gets tiring when you're sitting there talking literally to yourself, I'm talking to no one for an hour and a half. If that doesn't make you want to listen to shanty music and go crazy, I don't know what will. That gets to you. So, plus, again, I'm on the road. I want to stay focused and alert. And, I don't want to blab on to my phone for an hour and a half right now. Plus, I don't even know if I have the battery life to do so. And who knows, I can't do the test. I can't do the audio test that I normally do. So who knows how the audio is going to sound right now? It could be a disaster. And I can only do so much in editing to fix that. So hopefully the audio is not as bad. The video is kind of shoddy because of the angle at which I have the camera on the car. But, we'll figure out a way to make it work. Anyway, with that, we're going to do the good stuff. Step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right, no sponsor on road trip episodes, as you know. For safety reasons, I can't be reading sponsor ads. The sponsors understand that, so we're good to go. The Cage fact is a shoddy one, and here's why. I got the Cage fact, and I tried to commit it to memory, and I didn't write it down, and it's tough to read again while you're on the road. I don't want to be unsafe. So I'm going to get the facts not totally correct, but I'll update it in the description on the YouTube and Spotify in there to give you the specifics of the Cage fact so that you know it's actual correct information. But he did a movie a number of years ago. I don't know if it was, for some reason 2018 comes to mind that this movie came out. It was called like 211, or the number 211 was in the title. It might have been 211 something else, or something in 211. And it's this like crime, drama, action type of movie, I guess. I haven't seen it yet. I didn't hear about it until later on, and I forgot about it. I think it was a made-for-TV type movie, one of those. But he's like a detective in it, if I remember correctly. And it ended up, I guess it wasn't a bad movie. And because of that, I think it wasn't a bad movie, but it just didn't get the recognition it should have gotten as a Cage classic. So they're sort of re-releasing it. And again, I don't have the dates. This is a bad Cage fact, folks, and that's on me 100%. I don't remember the exact release date, but they're releasing it to streaming services, which I'll put in the description on YouTube and Spotify and Apple, where you can find this movie. But it's not very similar. It is sort of similar to this movie idea I had. I talked about it with Styx, not on the show. I don't even know if I mentioned it on the show before. But I had this idea of a movie, a sinister crime, horror, thriller type movie, where Nic Cage was a detective, and his partner is like a new guy, and he's the salty veteran, and they're trying to go after this really sinister serial killer. And this serial killer does some stuff that I don't want to discuss, because I don't want the idea to get stolen. And maybe I discussed it before and I forgot, and if I did, then you can go back to previous episodes and call me on it. But the stuff he does to his victims, he does a sort of like a hiding in plain sight thing. So you never know who the killer is until the end. It reveals, the killer is revealed, and you go, and then you kind of go back to the story and like, oh, they were leaving breadcrumbs the whole time, and this is great, and this and that, and Nic Cage was going to be the main character. This is a similar movie because he's a detective and they're going after some killer. And I'm not going to say that they stole my movie idea, because I came up with that later on. And when I say came up with, they've had a billion versions of that same storyline. I got it. I want to do one with Nic Cage. So that was my idea. Is let's do one of those type of movies with the great one. So I'm not going to say they stole that idea. That's a very common idea. Nic Cage has played a cop and detective in multiple movies too, so nothing new there. But the re-release in 211 on streaming services to try to get the recognition and the popularity that it deserves. So I'll post the information on when I can. If it's not already released on the streaming services, I'll say when it is and where you can find it. And then we can all watch it and then get your reviews. Get your honest opinion. You can hit the hotline, 202-670-1114. Hit the hotline, let me know what you thought of it. Whenever it comes out, maybe we'll do an episode on that. A little review of this crime drama that was supposed to be good and never got its comeuppance, if you will. So, that's the Cage fact. The shanty music is coming quick, folks. I am losing my marbles. Anyway, we'll spin on over to the junction. Let's get the logo going. Alright, we got a couple of questions. This is a quick episode. A couple of questions from Instagram and Facebook for this episode. I'm going to post again in the future more of the same thing because I have another road trip obviously at the end of, when I come back to Texas. So I'll have another road trip episode I'll record there. I'll get more questions and topics there. But I got a couple of good questions and some not so good questions that we'll go through. And again, I committed these to memory, so they're not verbatim, but you know who you are who asked the question. So the first one was, why was the 80s and early 90s really the height of America? And I like this question because you hear that stuff all the time, especially from like the millennials, like the older millennials and the younger, I guess what's before millennials? Gen Xers maybe? That crew that grew up in the 80s and 90s. A lot of them are saying that it's the height of America. I don't know if that's a demographic thing that always happens. I know my old man and my mother used to say that, growing up in the 50s and 60s was the height. Everything, it was the best back then, this and that. I don't know because I never lived during that time. But I can argue that the 80s and 90s was the height. And here's why I'll say that. First, I'm a pretty simple guy when it comes to, things that make me content in life. I don't need to have all the latest technology all the time or access to things all the time to be happy. I do it because I like it. All right, sorry about that, folks. Had a phone call and it jacked up everything because the call came through my phone, which is the camera right now, and the car, and the audio got screwed up. And I think I got it figured out now with the audio and the video. So anyway, 80s, 90s era being the height of America. I'm a simple man, like I said. I don't need technology, the state of the art stuff all the time. I like to have it. Like I have a decent model iPhone because it's got good cameras for recording and stuff, which I like to do because, as you know, I like to learn about the tech side of audio video stuff. I like things, like flat screen TVs that are big and last a long time. I have technology. I use the internet obviously every day, but I don't need it to have a good time. I have a good time outside in my garden, mowing the lawn, going for a walk with Randy, hitting the gym. I enjoy that stuff all the time too, and I grew up without any of that stuff. And it was, and in my opinion, that was a better time for me. Riding bikes out in the summer, outside every day, that set me up for success that I don't think enough people realize, even people in my age group, my generation. If you look at the generations now, and I'm not trying to be the old guy talking about the younger generation doesn't know shit. I'm just looking at the times and the technology available and what kids are doing these days more often than anything else. And more often than not is they're on a screen, they're indoors, and they're not out and about being active. And now there's absolutely some positives with the new technology and upgrades and the way things are now for sure. Having an iPad on road trips for kids is great because they can read books there, they can watch a movie, they can stay quiet, they can learn some stuff while they're on there. There's a lot of positives with that. The access to information to learn, grow, and improve is light years ahead of what it was when I was going to school, like when we had to actually look up through old encyclopedias to write book reports and stuff, hit the library for all that stuff. So there's a lot of good there. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's all bad, but if I wasn't outside and active every day, I would not be as disciplined or interested in and passionate about health and fitness and sports and focusing on that on a regular basis. I could and very well easily have been just a fat who's on the computer all the time. Maybe I read a lot, which is good. Reading's great. But just a fat who doesn't care about health and wellness, doesn't know about physical activity and the benefits of that, if I grew up in this generation. I grew up in a time when you looked forward to recess so you could go out and play football or kickball with the guys and the gals. And then the weekends were spent playing your sports that you played or hitting the bike trails with your friends. And in the summertime, it was every day outside. Every day outside. If there was a sport we were playing, like on our actual team, we had practices, we had the games, we were always playing sports. And then when we weren't doing that, we were riding the bikes, hitting jumps, doing stuff together, playing home run derbies outside, playing touch football. We were doing it all. Physical activity all the time. And because that became my life, that was my daily habits were physical activity. My daily habits were not video games and computer time. Those weren't around. And I'm lucky for that. I'm lucky I have them now because I enjoy them now and I use them for different purposes. Because as you know, I hit the sticks all the time on the Xbox. But that's not because I don't play games by myself. I only go on when my friends are on and we can shoot the shit and catch up, and that's our bar scene since we don't live next to each other. That's our, let's go meet at this, bar and get a drink. Instead, we want to hit sticks and then we could talk to each other about what's going on in our lives, how our families are doing, day-to-day stuff, dating things, sports talk, whatever. And some of the closest friendships I maintain currently are from sticks or some form of engagement through technology on a regular basis. I don't sticks with Bone Crusher, but we talk every day via technology. So that's just, that's the technology amenity. That's the pros of it now. But if I had it when I was a kid and the access to the internet like we do now, it would be a different story. I don't know what kind of person I would be. Plus, the 80s and 90s for the adults was a different world altogether as well. I mean, the 80s was partying hard. It was working hard on the stock market. The Wild West of things you can get away with in life. Hitting the cocaine lines like crazy, apparently. It was a wild time, and people were getting a lot of money before the crash, the stock market crash in the 80s, but people were getting after it. And here's the big thing about the 80s and 90s and people getting after it. There was no cell phones with cameras to record every single thing that went on. There was no big brother feeling around that, like, oh, watch what you do. Somebody's going to record it. It's going to end up in the internet. You're going to get canceled. And that's not to say that you should go be doing bad stuff, but that level, that feeling of freedom almost enables you to take a little bit more risk in life and get after stuff. I'm trying to think about some of the funniest comedians now that were around in the 80s and 90s. If they were living in the world of censorship and iPhone technology and recording everything back when they were the big comedians in the 80s and 90s, who's to say how good they would have been? How many of them would have been too scared to take those chances, thinking, oh, I don't want to get canceled? And I'm sure there's a ton of comedians now who nobody knows about, and they're considered not good comedians because they're too scared to take those chances. The best ones now don't care. They've already gotten canceled and came back and realized like it's fake, and they're kind of broke through that, like the Shane Gillises of the world, the Louis C.K.'s. that got canceled for nonsense, but realized it's malarkey, and I can push the envelope again. And they're kind of changing the tune for at least the comedy world, where you shouldn't really care about that as much. You're a comedian. You're trying to say stuff to make people laugh. So that intent in itself is non-malicious. So that should be all the freedom you need to go out and get after it and take those chances. But just in life in general, not just in comedy, I have to imagine of the 80s and 90s, there was a little bit more freedom to take risks in life, because there wasn't that sort of impending, like, how's this going to look 10 or 20 years from now, like we have now. And I don't know how it was in the 50s and 60s. I imagine it was similar in that regard. But there was also stuff in the 50s and 60s that you didn't have that we had in the 80s and 90s. Like, I don't know, central air conditioning, cable TV. I don't know, when did the VCR come around? When did that come around? Music tapes, being able to take music and put it on a cassette and have it around and walk around with you and listen to music. Or comedy albums. Just take the arts on the road with you like that. They didn't have that back in the 50s and 60s. They had the vinyls. So, while there might have been that freedom and things were a little different as far as political correctness and what you can get away with back then, I think the 80s and 90s kind of encapsulated both of the pros of both of those eras that are, before me and after, directly before me and directly after me. And that's why I'm talking about 50s, 60s, 70s, and then this generation now is before and after me. Before and after the 80s and 90s. In case you didn't understand that and get that, I have to over explain it to you. So you're welcome. So I do tend to think that the 80s and 90s might have been the height of America in my lifetime anyway. Who knows, in the future, in the next 5, 10, 20 years, we can hit a new height. Things might change to the point where it's like, oh, this is the height now. This is really where it's at. Or we look back on this time frame now and be like, oh, the early 2000s and mid 2000s, that was actually the height. I don't know. It's like that quote that Andy Bernard had in The Office. I wish someone could tell me that we were in the good old days when we were actually in them, or whatever he said, something like that. I wish you knew that you were in the good old days while you were in the good old days. And I wholeheartedly agree. That's, it's bittersweet to look back on the good times you had back in the day, because a lot of times you look through rose-colored glasses and that's what you think, oh, this was a better time. But in the midst of it, you never think that. You're stuck in the daily stressors of life and the daily negatives, and you think, oh, this I can't wait for the 2000s to come. The 90s suck. And then you look back and like, oh man, I wish we had the 90s again. So who knows? But I like that question. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I could do a whole episode on talking through that. I'm just riffing off of my dead brain right now, trying not to think about shanty music. All right, next question. Let's see if I remember this one correctly. What was it? Like, how many? What's the appropriate amount of lot lizards you should get, or what are the best lots to find the lizards? I think that was a question, something like that. Look, here's the thing. I appreciate the question. I get the joke. But I don't know if enough people know about lot lizards, and I don't feel like explaining every single time what lot lizards are. So if you're on the road a lot, you understand lot lizards. And if you're not on the road a lot, you don't. So I think a lot of people are not going to get the premise of that joke question. And also, I don't know. I don't do lot lizard stuff. There's no good lot lizards. This is not like a movie where you get some hot lot lizard at a truck stop waiting to do, you know, to do below the equator stuff to you, to do self-treat to you. That's just not real. Most of the time, it's disgusting drug addicts, or it's guys trying to do secret throat stuff. So I don't mess around with the lot lizards, never have, never will, and I don't even know where you can find them. It has to be in the middle of nowhere type places. And I don't stop at those places unless it's an absolute emergency, and even then, I still kind of pass them by. The places I stop for gas and bathroom breaks and food are all big, safe, well-lit areas for me and Randy to go take care of our rest stop stuff. Bathroom breaks, food, gas, what have you. Snackies. So, I don't know where the lot lizards are. But thank you for the question. How do you know about lot lizards? That's what I'd like to know. Call the hotline. Tell us where you have found the best lot lizards. What lots have you been to that have good lizards? I said lizards. Good lizards. But anyway, good question. Moving on. What was the next question? This was from the Bone Crusher. He wanted to know when the next Brotherhood reunion daddy was. Next Brotherhood reunion. And that's a great question. I thought it was going to be the alumni golf outing, but a bunch of folks couldn't make it that weekend for various reasons. So not all of us were able to do a reunion, a rendezvous. So we had to get together and come up with a location and a day or a date timeline to go do that. And I'm down. I'm always down for something like that, even if it's only for a weekend somewhere and we don't even have an agenda. We just want to meet up in some town. I mean, the one we did in Syracuse, that was a legendary rendezvous, a Brotherhood reunion, legendary. And for what reason? We didn't do anything spectacular. Syracuse is the most disappointing city in America. All potential, no results. Bum city. And we had a great time. So it doesn't really, we could find, we could go to Oklahoma City for all I care. Doesn't matter. So we got to figure that out. I don't know specifically when. We'll have to get on a group chat and try to figure the details out and make that happen one day. Maybe we go to Philly. Maybe people come down to Houston. Maybe we do Chicago. Maybe we go to DC. I don't know. Maybe we find a neutral zone somewhere in the middle of America and try that out. See how that goes. So we'll figure it out. It's a great question. It's a good topic because we should always be thinking about when we want to rendezvous with our brothers. So thank you for that. All right, last question. We're moving along here. I don't even know how long we've been going. Last question. What are your top 3 Office episodes from the show The Office, if you didn't pick up on that? And that's a good question. I don't know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. All of them are Steve Carell episodes. If Michael Scott is not in the episode, it's not a good one for me. So you can cut out the last couple seasons. Those were not bad, but they won't even be part of the conversation. I'm trying to think. Ooh, that's a tough one. Maybe Scott's Tots, because it's such a tough episode and so awkward. That might be one. Phyllis's wedding episode, where Michael Scott almost ruins the wedding because he's so delusional on his role in it. That's up there. What's the other one I just had in the top of my head? Oh, the dinner party when Michael Scott and his and Jan invited Jim and Pam for dinner. That's a tremendous episode. That's another one that's like so awkward and ass clenching. It's just incredible. I don't know how they got through that episode. I'd be crying, laughing the entire time, and they wouldn't be able to get any footage of me. So I would say, in no particular order, dinner party, Phyllis' wedding, and Scott's tots. Now you can argue a bunch of different episodes, but for me, I'm trying to remember episodes where more than one scene had me rolling on the floor laughing. Like there was the one episode where I guess the basketball episode was pretty good in the first season. I think that was first or second season where they had the basketball game against the warehouse. That was pretty good. That's up there. That could be top 3, top 4. There was the one cold open where the power goes out in the office, and then when the computers come back on, they need the server password to get back into the network, and they're trying to remember the password. And that whole scene where Steve Carell is trying to remember the names of the IT guys, but he only remembers them by the nicknames he gave them in his head, and that has me crying every time. He's like, "Well, who were the? Let's see who the previous IT guys were. There was Turbin, Ear Hair, Fatty 2, Lozenge, Fatty 1, and Fatso." When he said that's how he remembered the IT guys, Lozenge and Fatso. That was a great scene, but I honestly don't remember what episode that was tied to. I forgot. It could have been a good episode, but it was just that scene that made me laugh wholeheartedly. So I can't give that one a top 3 nod. Date Mike is up there too as well. That was another great episode. Diversity Day is another tremendous episode. Those were the early seasons of The Office. The first season and even into the second season a little bit. It was those cringe, awkward, tense jokes that really pushed the envelope. I'm actually surprised it made it past a second season with that first season and a half, because it was so like, man, this is really pushing the envelope here with Diversity Day and basketball and being sexist and stuff like that. With those jokes, I'm glad it did, because it paved the way for one of the greatest shows of all time. People debate that obviously, but I like when it comes to comedy. I like when people push the envelope. It's all to be funny. The intent is to be funny. It's not to hurt anyone's feelings or offend anybody. So once you understand that, you can be open to accepting and realizing the jokes in in all aspects. And they were able to push those envelopes and get those jokes out, and I like that. So, but I would have to sit down, really think about an actual top 3 list of Office episodes. But right off the top of my head, I would say Phyllis's wedding, dinner party, Scott's tots, and then maybe like basketball episode is a close 4th. So, great question. That's a topic, again, I could talk about all day. That's fun stuff to talk about. It's not politics. It's not wars. It's not serious stuff. It's fun stuff to kind of just let loose and just enjoy the entertainment of the discussion. So I appreciate that, and thank you for that question. And that's all I got to say about questions today, folks. Again, a pretty quick episode. Not mad about it. I'm on the road, so, it's probably best for safety that we keep these a little tightened up a bit. So, not bad. These are great questions. I appreciate them. For the next road trip episodes, or episode, depending on how many I decide to record when I come back down to Texas, I'll put this up again for more topics and question ideas, or questions and topic ideas, and we'll have some fun with it. It's a fun thing to do for me in the absence of being able to take hotline calls and be sitting in front of my computer to look up stuff and do that whole how you doing. So I appreciate you guys who submit questions. Keep them coming for the next one. These are fun. So before we go, though, really quick, the big three, the three pillars of staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being, and being able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you and throughout the land. Number one, exercise every day. Do something every day to improve your fitness and health physically, mentally, and emotionally. Number two, the hardest one to do, don't be a shitty person, be a kind person. When the opportunity arises to be negative and shitty, take that LPDS step back, take a deep breath, detach from those negative emotions, and omit yourself from the situation. That way you're minimizing the negativity in the world and you're providing yourself the capacity to go focus on more positive, productive things in your lives. Number three, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. And you can do this by thinking about starting with once a day. Think about one good thing in your life and how shitty your life would be like without that thing, and that'll immediately put you in the state of gratitude. And if you do that 2, 3, 4 times a day, you build up to that, you'll be living in a state of gratitude much more than you're going to be taking things for granted. And if you couple that with not being a shitty person and being a kind person, and you couple that with exercising every day, I promise you guys, you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being. You'll be able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you and throughout the land. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and put those notifications on, and hit that hotline, 202-670-1114. Tell your friends and enemies the hotline number. Call it in. We'll take hotline calls. I love them. 202-670-1114. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.